Hello everybody, welcome to Flight Pass. My name is Simon, it's good to see you. We are in the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 live on Twitch, and we'll be coming to YouTube. This will be episode 31 on YouTube. So we're just going to be waiting now and see if anyone turns up. Hello, guy at the back. And today I thought we're going to be continuing our story on Waterloo. And if you're not used to Flight Past, what we do is we're a very slow discussion on major events in history by using this flight simulator to get a look at the topography, to get an idea of how the lay of the land basically affects decisions that were made in the time. So we are obviously looking at Europe here, and I usually find that this map is better because it allows it has all the place names on it. So the story so far is we've moved up from Elba, which is this number 1 down here, moved up to Paris. This is in March 1815. We get to Paris, and Napoleon's there. He's trying to juggle things. He's trying to write letters off to the sovereigns of Europe, saying, I'm not going to be aggressive, I'm not going to do attack, trying to buy time basically. And when he gets the replies back from the sovereigns around about April the 6th, he gets the letter returned from Britain unopened. He realizes that now it's a race to mobilize his army. So he's got a problem in the Vendée area of France. He has open revolts here. His problems down in Marseille, in the Provence area. These are very royalist areas, so he's having to have troops there. And he's also expecting the Austrians to be arriving via Basel, and the Russians will be following up behind. So if he waits too long, he's going to basically have a lot of Allied troops against him. At the moment, he's probably can get with juggling his National Guard and making them go to the fortresses, relieving the soldiers. He can muster a mobile army of around about 100,000, a little bit more. And he's facing two armies that are currently stationed in Belgium. And he's and this is one of Wellington and Blucher, the Prussian and the Anglo-Dutch army. So what I thought I would do today, we managed to get, we followed Napoleon to his headquarters at Avesnes on the last stream. And so what we're going to be doing, and we had a brief fly over the campaign area to have a look, just to make sure we're all familiar with what's going on. So go back and check them out. They'll be currently they're going up on YouTube, so go and check that out on the Flight Pass channel over there. We will today, I thought what we would do is we'll look at the actual armies themselves. We'll start off with the British Army, and we'll spin the map around, and we'll have a look from the perspective of Wellington looking towards the Belgian border. So I think what we'll do, we'll probably, I might start, I think we got to Ghent yesterday. So we'll start back at Ghent. We'll head into Brussels, and I'm going to talk about the Anglo-Dutch army under the control of Wellington. So we're in the Huey. If you want to join me, I'm on the European West server, and we can find Ghent, which would be here. So let's start off at this helipad here, and we'll head into Brussels itself, and in fact, what we'll do is we'll head into Brussels, and I'll just put a marker down for somewhere like Quatre Braça, because it's really difficult to find. And it would be somewhere under this cloud. There we go. So we'll head to this area. We're going to be basically looking at a couple of key areas. We'll go to Brussels. We'll head down to the battlefield site itself, the Battle of Waterloo, which is around here. And that just keeps us on schedule. So yes, if you're on Microsoft Flight Simulator, you can join me, starting off in Ghent, and we're going to just take a casual flight today, see how far we get, depending on how we get on, and we may end the stream with a continuation down the Seine like we did the other day. Now this has got photogrammic imagery, but since the update it's been pretty poor. So are you all happy in the back? So there's backseat drivers there. If you're on the stream, you can comment, and it will appear on the left-hand side. So you're in charge of making sure that all the lights and switches are in the right place. Make sure I don't crash. So we are over Ghent. So the idea, if you're new to the channel, is that we have a look at these famous parts of history. It's a very chilled sort of history streamcast podcast type style. You're welcome to join in, you're welcome to comment, tell me if I'm getting stuff wrong. So I'm flying and talking. It's meant to be designed as a discussion rather than any sort of lecture or anything like that. So please feel free to help me out with interesting information. If you've got somewhere you want to see, pop it in the chat, or if you're watching on YouTube later, just pop it in the comments there, and then in the next stream we can incorporate it into it. This is episode 31 on the YouTube episodes, so we've been it's not like we're going to get to the end of this story anytime soon. So before we start the battle, the actual campaign, I thought we'd actually have a look at the armies involved. We'll look at some of the tactics that are involved, and so that we'll be familiar with the terrain, we'll be familiar with the tactics, and then we can make a better decision then when we analyse the history. This, by the way, is Ghent. So this is the place where the Bourbon monarchy escapes to, leaves Paris. They leave Paris on I believe, on the 19th of March. First of all, moving to Lille, and then coming to here in Ghent. And this is also on the one of the important supply routes that Wellington has from Brussels, which is here, to Ostend. And the other important route is for his supplies is to Antwerp. And so we've discussed this before. This is one of the key reasons why Wellington cantonments his majority of his troops in this area down to the south and west of Brussels, to cover his supply routes, just in case he gets outflanked on that side. Now, you got to remember, by this time in 1815, the armies have been basically at war for going on for 20 odd years. And so, in terms of their skills, in terms of their tactics, they're at the peak for that period. They've honed their skills. You know, they're very much know the way to fight. Napoleon has his way. He's very much an artillery man. He likes his grand battery, and the Duke of Wellington tends to develop this style where he will use the terrain to his advantage to nullify some of the advantages of the French, and one of those is the famous reverse slope position. So the British Army is where we're going to start off today, and we're flying now. This is the supply route that Wellington would use, heading towards Brussels. His army at the time initially was very low. It was under the control of the Prince of Orange. And when Wellington takes over, he immediately needs to up his troop numbers. And the army he has by the time in June 1815 is around about 35% British. It's about 26% Dutch Belgium, 16% Hanoverian, 9% Brunswicks, and I think 9% King's German Legion, and 5% Nassau. So they're despite all this different nationalities, and you'll hear a lot of generalizations concerning the quality of the troops. The actual performance of the troops coming on the in the campaign are not really to be separated by national lines. There's more each element would have its weak and strong parts. Most of the troops performed similar, but it was a lot of it. The generalizations come from Wellington himself. He doesn't quite trust some of the non-British elements in his army who haven't been with him before, especially in the peninsula. The British army is they're not conscripts, they're volunteers. So they tend to be a bit more professional. They don't use militia. There's a law in the Great Britain at the time saying that the militia can't go outside of their area. So it means that basically, even though there's only 35% of the army is British, that element tends to be quite good quality. So, being a professional, they've served for a while. But there wasn't conscripts. Now, because of the demand for troops, there was elements of his army in the Dutch and the Belgians who were conscripted. They tended, first of all, to try to like the Dutch, Belgium, and Nassau armies would actually call up their militia. But like I say, the British didn't have. It was against the law for them to operate militia outside of the borders back at home in the UK. Now, the British Army itself was veteran, of course. It had seen it was flushed with success from the Peninsular War. And we'll see that a lot of the veterans that Wellington had in the peninsula were actually not available to him. Wellington himself, Cyborn, he was a later historian who's the one who famously made the model of Waterloo and fell out with Wellington over that. But he calls Wellington, he recalls that Wellington's character as resolute. He was a cool character, cautious, yes, but calculating. Possessed natural courage, and he inspired the confidence and respect of his troops. I mean, they weren't, I suppose, massive fans of him, but he would be in the thick of things. And we'll see when we get to the battle. The Duke of Wellington was in the front line. He was literally in horses inside the squares, whereas Napoleon would tend to be a little bit further back. And so this affects the immediate sort of ability to command the troops around him. And yes, he doesn't sometimes get the overall feel of the battle, but he can react quickly. And I think it's also a sign that Wellington possibly wasn't a great delegator to other people. Famously telling the Uxbridge, that his second in command, that he didn't know what his plans was because he didn't know what Napoleon would do, and basically left Uxbridge in the dark concerning his plans. So Wellington originally he did command a battalion in the Duke of York's unsuccessful campaign in Flanders in 1794 and 95. So he was familiar with this area. He would then go on to command a brigade briefly. And so he had already experienced campaigning in this Belgium and Dutch Holland area. He then moves across to India, and in India he honed his skills. He was very much developed his ability to not only skills tactically and strategically, but mainly he managed to hone his skills logistically and politically, operating in an area where you had to have some political skills as well as military skills. So he becomes a major general by 1802, at the age of 33. But what he develops in India is the ability to look after his troops in very testing conditions. He gets he knows how to use his cavalry and infantry and artillery to the maximum advantage. And he's always known as a cautious general, but there are signs of that he would seize the day when he had to. The Battle of Assaye was a key example of this. This is the battle where, because there was two villages, I believe, on either side of a river, he believed that the river could be forded, and so he manages to sort of sneak in the army onto the flank there and win the day. He was obviously lucky in a certain sense as well. So he turned the tide. He could change. 7,000 troops could just defeat an army of 40,000 if he uses the terrain correctly. And he always looks back at Assaye as his finest achievement. So it's an interesting battle to look at when you're looking at. Sometimes you get a feeling with Napoleon that his best is when he's aggressive, but with Wellington, he definitely will be cautious, make sure that he engages his enemy on his terms. But if he sees a weakness in the enemy, or they haven't spotted something about the terrain, he will take advantage very, very quickly, and he will not hesitate to do that. So when he gets back from India in 1805, he receives a knighthood for his services. He's for his military services, but he gets the reputation as what's known as a sepoy general. The guards don't respect him. They think that he's not a proper general. He's also he's seen as have been an outsider. But the British Army is one of these things where even though you could buy your way up, when it actually came to sending somebody out to do something or lead, they would go with the talent rather than the sort of the Bob's your uncle kind of guys. So we're here now in Brussels, and this is where Wellington would be on the evening of the battle. Before the campaign begins, he will be at the Duke of Richmond's ball, which I'm not sure where that is, we might be able to try and find it. When he's back in Europe, he takes over a number of brigades. He wins a minor victory at the Kioge, Kioge, which is Denmark, in 1807. He also becomes a politician. He's becomes the chief secretary for Ireland in 1807. But in 1808, he is eventually sent out to the peninsula. So we're talking Spain and Portugal. And 6 years down there, basically being a thorn in Napoleon's side, using the Royal Navy to establish a base in Lisbon, using that the lines just north of Portugal as his sort of winter base, going back out into the Iberian Peninsula, just grinding down the French ability to wage war. And this is where he really develops his skills against the French. There's a variety of types of battle there. There's the sort of sieges you get the retreating along parallel lines to topography that is advantageous to him, and then striking back in an almost sort of a snake bite kind of way. It meant dealing with allies, the Portuguese. It meant dealing with civilian foreign governments. It meant developing his supply lines, developing his wagon routes, knowing the sort of the scale of logistics required to keep an army of 80,000 in the field. And so he ends up having a series of unbroken victories in the peninsula. So we are flying over Brussels, and this is going to be the end of episode 31 on YouTube. I'm going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue talking about the British Army. We'll look at where the British troops are based in the months preceding the campaign, the Waterloo campaign in June 1815. If you have enjoyed it, this is the sort of pace we go at. It's not fast, I know, but hopefully you find it interesting. And if you do, please give it a like, follow, subscribe, and all that sort of stuff. And I will see you in the next part, which will be a couple of minutes away.